So Monica asks, will our interviewer at our PA school interview have read our application? And the answer is, when it comes to colored suits, they're not my favorite. I can't teach you to be genuine. I can teach you to be confident. I cannot teach you to be genuine. Hey guys, my name is Savannah Perry and I'm a dermatology PA, but I've also been helping people get into PA school for the last 10 years. The PA platform is here to help you, and today we're going to answer some of your questions. Welcome to Pre-PA DMs. If you have a question, you can send it to us. Make sure you're following on Instagram or TikTok and submit your question so that we can answer it here. Our first question comes from Sanfina. What should you bring with you to a PA school interview? A resume? Great question. So you really don't have to bring anything with you to an interview. If a school doesn't specifically tell you to bring a resume, a copy of your application, anything new or updated, you don't have to bring it. It is so much easier now with things being online. When I applied to PA school, CASPA wasn't online yet. So they actually mailed the whole packet to the schools. And when I got to one of my interviews, they couldn't find it. So we kind of had to do my interview on the fly because they couldn't find my information where they had written everything up and they couldn't pull it from online. That makes me sound so old. But now they can pull up your application if needed. They can ask you for things. You can email things if you need to. For my interview, I took a small handbag and I had a notepad, a pen. They did give me a folder with those things in it at my interviews, as well as my phone, which was off. I turned my phone completely off to make sure that I didn't have any distractions during my interview. Nothing vibrating or going off, because that would have been so embarrassing. So turn everything off, but you can totally take a little bag if you want to. My car keys, because I drove to my interviews and had to park. So you can take a bag, you can take a pad folio, you can take a resume if you want to be safe, but don't really feel like you have to bring anything. Some schools will ask for a picture or they'll take a picture there. You can take that on a plain wall or outside. It does not have to be a professional headshot or anything crazy. Our next question is from Anjali, and they ask, what is the best way to answer the tell me about yourself question? I have heard different ways people have responded to the question, but I'm not sure what to include in my response. So in a tell me about yourself question, a get to know you question, an intro question, I really do just want to get to know you. I want to learn what makes you you. I want to learn about your hobbies, your interests, where you're from, maybe a little bit about your education, your experience, kind of that snapshot of what makes you you. It kind of breaks the ice, gives your interviewer stuff to go off of so that they can ask more questions and have some context into the information that you're giving. What tell me about yourself is not is your YPA. And that's a mistake I see a ton when we're doing mock interviews is people jump right into that YPA and start explaining that when that's going to come up later. And if they haven't specifically asked you about that yet, I wouldn't get into it too far. It's fine to say like, oh, I want to be a PA or I'm interested in PA, but I just wouldn't get into too much of that why. Erin asked our next question, which is how long should our responses be to interview questions? Now, this is going to vary depending on your interview type a little bit. If you're in a group interview, you may want to cut your answers short and be more concise so that you're not impinging on anyone else's time and you're being considerate. If you're in a traditional interview where you're just going back and forth with the interviewer, that is your time and you really shouldn't limit yourself as long as you're providing new information. I do encourage you to record yourself, just video record yourself. I know we all hate to do it. I hate doing it. But if you watch it back or you time your answers, you'll likely find that you're not talking for as long as you thought you were. And so you can cut those answers short if you need to. Like if you're going over 3 or 4 minutes, you may want to cut them short. But if you're just at 30 seconds, 45 seconds, a minute, you have time. I think even up to 2 minutes or so is perfectly acceptable. I've rarely had to cut someone off during a mock interview. Usually I'm asking for more examples, more stories, more connections. So you can add a little bit more. MMI or multiple mini interviews are a little different because you have stations and you are often given an amount of time. So they may say prepare for 2 minutes and then you'll have 5 minutes to respond. And that again is your time. So if you want to take up the whole time, if you want to provide as much information as possible and make the most of that, you can in an MMI setting. So don't be afraid to use up all of that time and just video yourself to get a good idea of your timing. So Monica asks, will our interviewer at our PA school interview have read our application? And the answer is, I don't know, maybe, or maybe not. When you submit your CASPA, you fill in all of your information and then it puts it into a PDF or however they send it. If you download those PDFs, you'll find they're often 30, 35, 40 pages long. So I don't think your interviewer is sitting there and going through all of that. They may have a snapshot of who you are. They may have some cliff notes that somebody put together, but it's very unlikely that that person has seen your entire application, looked at every grade, looked at every experience, read your personal statement, read your supplementals, or all that jazz. So for that reason, you can definitely expand on those things and give reminders, give some context, include information that's on your application. Don't feel like you have to limit yourself or avoid that information because your interviewer may or may not actually know it. We found that a lot of programs this year are back to in-person interviews instead of virtual, like we were seeing in the past. I think last year was still half and half for the 2024-2025 cycle, but for this cycle, it seems like there are a ton of in-person interviews. But somebody did ask, Lorea says, any specific tips for a virtual interview so that you can stand out and let your personality show more, since it's a little hard to convey that and answer questions through a screen, which I hear that all the time. I have done a video on virtual interviews, so go back and watch that to get some tips and pointers. But there are a couple of things that can help. One is sit in an engaged fashion. I think when I sit in a chair, and you may be similar, I tend to slouch or like sit back. Sit up, shoulders back, kind of in an active position, lean forward towards the screen a little bit, smile, maybe even exaggerate that some so that it is clear that you want to be there. Test all of your tech ahead of time. I think having a clear camera is beneficial so that they can actually see you and really have an idea of what you look like. Sometimes the cameras or webcams can be a little bit fuzzy. So you want to try your phone or try something else if you feel like the quality there is a struggle. As well as audio, you want your audio to be good and there not to be any issues in that. Somebody else asked, Allison said, can we use a professional virtual background? I think it's best if you just have kind of a clean, true background, so then it doesn't look like you're hiding anything or anything weird's going on. So I think if you can just keep your background clean, a clean wall, clean bookshelf. I have heard of interviewers asking about what's in the background. So you may want to be cautious with that so that if you have something weird, like a funny book or something, that they're not asking you about it, if that could make things awkward. Be aware of what's in your surroundings, but ideally just something professional. I think lighting is actually the most important thing. So near a window, so you're getting some natural light, good overhead light, or even getting a light to shine on you to help brighten it up can help the video quality as well. All right, Heather says, I've been reading the book and practicing the questions. This is the book in question. It's available on Amazon. It's the PA School Interview Guide. It has tons of examples and questions for you to go through to learn how to answer questions without just telling you the answers. It goes through how to think about the questions, why the schools are asking you questions, so that you develop that critical thinking that you need on your feet on interview day. So check this out on Amazon. You can get it there and it has tons of stuff in it. You'll find some really funny reviews too. But if you have any questions about it, let me know. Back to the question. What advice do you have for not sounding rehearsed and showing your personality? I know writing bullet points for each question helps, but I've been speaking out my answers quite a lot and do not want to sound too robotic. If you are being genuine, if you are being yourself and sharing your true answer, that will come across. I can't teach you to be genuine. I can teach you to be confident. I cannot teach you to be genuine. I say that all the time in mock interviews and in these sessions because you still have to be yourself. So if you're struggling with this or feeling rehearsed, don't overthink your words. One of my favorite ways to practice or think about practicing is pretend a patient asked you these questions. If a patient asks you why PA, your answer is going to be so much more casual and less rehearsed and probably more genuine and passionate than if an interviewer in an interview setting asks you. So I almost like to kind of trick your brain into thinking that your interviewers are like patients, because if you're like me, when you walk in the room, your demeanor changes a little bit, your speech changes a little bit, you're maybe a little more peppy, and that's okay to take with you into an interview where you're also trying to make that really fast, good impression. I don't recommend just completely writing out your answers and trying to memorize them. And when it comes to bullet points, I also wouldn't necessarily do that for each question, as much as I would just have an idea of the things that you want a program to know about you, your strengths, your experiences, your goals, anything specific, think of it like a mental checklist. I'm a very visual person. So when I went into my interviews, I had this thought in my mind of the things I wanted to go over and check off. And as I talked about something, okay, mission trip to Jamaica, check. Don't talk about it again. My sister's autoimmune disease, check. Not talking about it again. So as you checked it off, I would kind of take that away so that I could bring up new points later on. Okay, so we also had a question from Jason. How do we sign up for a mock interview, and will we be given feedback for the mock interview? So let me tell you a little bit about how our mock interviews work. And you can go back and watch our live mock interviews to get an idea of kind of what that setup is. But essentially, they're an hour long with one of our pre-PA coaches who are all practicing PAs, and a lot of them have experience with the admissions process. But we're gonna go start to finish and make this as realistic as possible for you. Make it like a real interview setting. So you can sign up before you have an interview invite if you want to get that basic practice and go ahead and get started. Or once you have an interview, we'll make it as personalized as we can to the program that you're applying to. When you start, we'll get to know you a little bit, but we're going to jump into questions and we are going to pretend it's a real interview. We're going to take notes while we do it. And then afterwards, we'll do some feedback where we go through it with you and talk about what you did well, what you need to work on, and give you some tips to incorporate more of the stuff from your application. We have the application, and I've been doing this, like I said, for 10 years. So I have a good bit of information about different schools and how they interview. So that's on our side. We don't share that, but we can share it with you in an interview. We never share specific questions a school is going to ask you, but we will make sure you're prepared for the types of questions that they ask. And then if you don't feel ready for a mock interview, we also have our PA school interview course, which we just dropped the price to $29. And that is a great way to, if you aren't a reading person and you don't want to do the book, or you're not ready for a mock interview, there's over 4 hours of videos for you to go through and really start to learn the interview process. I love the PA School interview guide and I think it's super handy, but there's a difference in me being able to talk directly to you and explain the things that are in the book. So they do go together well, but if you're more of an audiovisual person, the course may be a better option for you. We'll link all of that in the description, and if you have any questions about it, feel free to comment. All right, Hannah on Instagram has a question that says, what about what to wear to PA School interviews? Any advice? I am a big proponent of a suit. When I was going through the PA School application process, I called a school and I asked them, like, what should I wear? And I was able to talk to the director actually, and she was like, wear a suit. Wear a suit, and her reason isn't great, but it was that for a female, it's one less thing to differentiate you from male applicants, which I thought was interesting, but she very strongly felt that everyone should wear a pantsuit. That was 12 years ago. Times have changed, but I still am a proponent of, you don't want to be the most underdressed one there. You can definitely wear a suit and feel comfortable on interview day. You can add some personality to it. You can wear a colored shirt underneath or mild, like low-key jewelry. I don't know the right word for that, but minimal jewelry to make sure that you're not standing out in that way. When it comes to colored suits, they're not my favorite. My suit though was light gray, and then I wore a dark purple shirt underneath, and I had a black bag and I think black flats. I did not wear heels, and then I pulled my hair out of my face. I tend to be a hair person who plays with my hair. So for me, I pulled it into a ponytail, even though I don't wear my hair like that very often, just so that I wasn't messing with it at my interview. So above all, I think you need to be comfortable, and it needs to be something that you feel confident in. It needs to fit well. Banana Republic Factory is where I got my suit, and I still to this day feel like their clothes fit me the best personally, but if you can find something that fits, I know a lot of people have been getting them at JCPenney's. That's an option too, but find something that works for you. Even if you're doing a virtual interview, I would still dress head to toe in something that you want to wear. I'm not going to show you what I'm wearing right now on the bottom. It's pajama pants. But for an interview, you would definitely want to make sure that you are professional in all ways, well-groomed and all of that. But yeah, I want you to be comfortable. I want you to feel confident in it. So whatever that looks like for you, go into your PA School interview shopping with that mindset of being professional. And you can always post in the Pre-PA Club on Facebook and get some feedback. We love seeing interview outfits in there, and usually you just get a big hype squad that's like, you look awesome, good luck. So check that out, and we'll link that in the description too. All right, if you liked this format, if you felt like it was helpful, this one was kind of interview themed. We can do other themes, and I can answer more questions kind of in this rapid fire way. Thank you for listening, and subscribe. If you have a question you want answered in a future video, leave it in the the comments. Check out the PAplatform.com for all of your pre-PA questions, and if you need anything, I'm here. I'm Savannah. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.